And the schedule for tomorrow is up there for you guys, so you have it. What is the first thing you should always look for when factoring? First thing you should always look for. Yeah, right? Greatest common factor. So is there anything that all of these have? They all have an A. We can factor out an A if my little pen works. Well, is there any number that they all go into? Anything that you can divide all three by?
Yeah.
What's the highest number you can divide all of these by? Ugh, so I'm going to fall down. 4 goes into all of them, so 8 should definitely check 8. 8 goes into all of them.
8 goes into 36? Yeah. Yeah.
Does it? Maybe 8 doesn't go into 36.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
8.5 times.
Wait, hold on. 8 goes into 36. We don't do decimal.
What's 36 divided by 8? Because 8 goes into 40, so it can't.
Not true. 8 doesn't go into 36. I don't think 8 goes into 36.
So 8 doesn't work. So 4 works, right?
Yeah.
4 is the highest thing we can get out of all these.
Shut up.
So we're going to divide all of these by 4a, because the smaller numbers that you can deal with, the easier factoring is. So what is 16 8 is the third divided by 4a?
4a squared.
4a squared, ooh, that's nice. 48a squared divided by 4a. 12a. And 36a divided by 4a. 9? And right away you can double check these numbers, because if they still have a common factor, that means you should be taking out something that's a little bit bigger. Okay? Alright, so this guy's going to hang. If you have this, if you have an a squared, and then an a, and then a number, what should the next line look like visually? Like, what's it going to look like?
2 brackets.
2 brackets. That, in and of itself, is more helpful, I think, than sometimes you guys realize. Knowing what that next line is going to look like. Okay?
Now you multiply 4 and 9.
So when you factor, you have to be polite, and you have to say, ma'am. Multiply, add, multiply. Isn't that nice? Multiply, add, multiply. Okay? I like the box method. I just learned the box method like 2 years ago, because it works for every scenario, which is nifty. If you like doing a different method, it's fine with me. I do not care if you use the box method or not, but it is kind of nice. How do you set up the box? Well, first guy goes in the first box, then what?
The bottom right is the last.
Yep, the last box gets the last guy, okay? If you need to keep the little positive symbol in it to make sure you have that, then it's good. And then really what we're going to do is we're going to split this into 2 terms and put them here. So these are both going to have A's with them, okay? So, what numbers are we multiplying? 4 and 9. So 4 times 9 gives you what? Alright, so I want 2 numbers that multiply to give me a 36, but when I add them together, they give me 12, right? So numbers that multiply to give me this, but add up to give me that. This is the one little part that's kind of like guess and check-ish, okay? If you can figure out these numbers, then you're golden, okay? That's really the key. I like doing a chart just because sometimes it takes me more than one guess. So I just start listing numbers that multiply to give me 36, okay? If you know that it's going to multiply to give you a positive number, how does that help you? Both numbers have to be what? When you multiply numbers together, how do you get a positive number? So they're either going to be positive and positive or negative and negative. You know that already, right? And if they add up to give you a positive number, which of these scenarios are you going to deal with?
The negative.
A negative plus a negative?
No, positive.
It would have to be a positive and a positive. You already know that these guys are going to be positive also. So what numbers multiply to give you 36? 6 times 6 is 36. is what's 6 plus 6? Well, there you go. Right? If you're not sure where to start, I always start with the two that I multiplied together to get there. 4 and 9 sometimes end up being the answers with each other. So this guy is a positive 6 and this guy is a positive 6, right? And I did not give myself enough space to finish this, but we'll just do a different color. Alright, so then how do you use a box to your advantage? What is le purpose de box? Yeah, you're finding out common factors. What does this column have in common that you can pull out of this column? What do they both have? They both have a 2, right? 4 and 6 are both divisible by 2, and they both contain an A. Okay? What does this column have to use to its advantage? They both are divisible by 3, right? And it's whatever symbol is here goes here. So if this one is negative, this will be negative. Every single time, guaranteed, no exception. How about across the road?
Same thing.
Yeah, this guy's also 2, right? So this guy's also a 2A. And how about down here? This guy's also a 3. And it's also positive. You can check that you've done this correctly because you can multiply these two together. 2A times 2A gives you 2. They all should multiply back together. So if you're having a hard time getting one number, like if this was a 3 and you couldn't figure out what this was, 9 divided by 3 gives you that answer. Does that make sense? This is like beautiful. As far as like, I had to learn this stuff by like guess and check. It was the worst. And then these are your answers right here.
Can you do it the other way now?
Huh? The other way? Sure. The only thing different with the other way is that you, by the way, this is your answer. The only thing that would be different with the other way is if you had this 4A and then you had 4A squared and you split up the 12A into these guys here. So you still have to go through the process of figuring out what these numbers were. And then you're going to factor a common factor out of here and a common factor out of here. Okay? So what can you take out of a 4A squared plus 6A? What do they both contain? 2 and an A, right? And what does it leave you with? If you divide each of these by plus 3, right? And then what can you factor out of a 6A plus 9? And what does it leave you with? Right? So the 4A still hangs out, it's just chilling. And then this guy is one of your answers. And then 2A plus 3 is your other answer. You get the same answer either way. It does not matter. It's just whether you want to organize it into a grid.
Right, so the 4A stays at the beginning of it?
Yep.
For both?
Yep.
So how would you know for the box one that the 4A is supposed to stay in the front?
This guy?
Yeah.
He just always does. I always just write him down in the next step, and then I basically are taking this section out and dealing with it separately.
Okay. So because it's like,
it just kind of carries down. Okay. Does that make a little bit more sense? Yeah? Alright, let's do another one. How about this guy? What should you use first?
take out the common factor.
Yeah, we're always looking for a GCF. What do we have for a GCF here? 2. 2 goes into 8. 2 at 36, since it's one of the numbers, it's as big as we can go. If the first number is ever negative, take out a negative. It just makes life 80 times easier. Okay? So then what does this leave me with?
4x squared
Okay.
minus x.
Uh-huh. And you can put a 1 here if that makes you feel better.
14, 18.
18, good. Okay. So I'm literally just going to bring down this 2, and I know that the next section is going to look like this. So I'm just kind of like setting it up for myself. Okay?
I multiplied 18.
And then if you're polite, right? Polite, yes ma'am. And what could you already fill it in your box? You can fill out a lot of your box right away.
4x squared.
Yep. And a negative 18, right? We already know that you got to put an x here and here, right? So we want numbers that do what two things?
Add up to negative 1.
They're going to add up to give you a negative 1,
Multiply to be negative
and they're going to multiply to give you whatever 4 times negative 18 is.
72.
What is it?
72.
72. And it's a negative 72, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you multiply numbers together to get a negative, what do you know about those two numbers?
One has to be positive, one has to be negative.
Right? You already know that one of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And on top of that, you do a bunch of prep for this, it makes it easier. If you know that you add them together and they're going to give you a negative number, what does that tell you?
Say that again.
If you know that you're going to add a positive and negative number together, and the answer is negative, what do you know about those numbers? How does that help you? Give me two numbers that multiply to give you 72.
18 and 4.
18 and 4?
9 and 8.
If you add these two together, you know one of them has to be negative. Is it going to be a negative 4 or a negative 18 that will give you a negative
Oh,
number?
9 and 8.
Which one of these would give you a negative solution?
Both of them.
No? The second one. Why would this one give you a negative solution? Yeah, so that means that this number is going to be the bigger number. So you already can eliminate out, you know that that one's not a possibility. It just kind of narrows down your possibilities, right? Since you're kind of doing a little bit of guess and check, it narrows down your possibilities. And these guys add up to give you negative 14, but we got to get to negative 1.
9 and 8.
9 and 8 end up working for this guy, right? And if you have 9 and 8, which one of those has to be negative?
9.
Okay. Yeah?
Yes.
So positive 8, negative 9. You could have put negative 9 here and positive 8. It would not change it. You get the same answer. Okay? And then you're just looking for common factors. What can you factor out, factor out, factor out? What does this column have in both of them? No numbers, but an X, right? Right. So if you want to put a 1 here, if that makes more sense in your head, you can keep a 1 there. How about over here? 2. And it's going to be positive 2. And then what do these guys have?
4.
They both have a 4, and they both have an x. 1x times 4x, 4x squared. 2 times 4x, 8x, right? So what does this number have to be? We've already taken a 2 out of this. What's left over? Huh? It's going to be a no.
No, the top one.
Hmm?
Is it 2?
Which one?
1x plus 2.
No. 8 and 18 both have it'll be even. Okay. Right? And then since this guy's negative, that guy has to be negative. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So then what are my answers? What am I filling in over there in my parentheses?
X plus 2, 4x minus 9. Can't just factor the fill in though?
No, the whole point of factoring is to break things down into all of its parts. Okay? So I want to know, what is this made up of? What do I have to multiply all together to get these?
2.
And 2 is one of them. Okay. How you feel?
Good.
getting back to myself. I can almost take a full breath. Isn't that exciting? It's like a really big deal. It's a really big deal. A really big deal. I went to bed at like 7 the other night. Alright, moving on.
Oh my god.
Well, I don't know a lot of interviews. Alright, what was special about these guys?
There's only two.
There's only two. And what's the symbol between them? It has to be negative. If the symbol between them is positive, you can't do anything, and you can just write no root. Swear to God.
Wow.
Swear to God.
Wish I knew.
Because there's no middle term here, right?
Yeah.
Right? So if I had something like the ones you're used to, right, are like x squared minus 9. What does that factor into?
It's like, it could be x, x.
It could be x and x.
Is it negative 3, negative 3?
It's negative 3, and if you want to multiply two numbers to get a negative, it's got to be a negative times a
Oh, positive.
positive. These have a special name. Remember talking about these a
They're
little bit?
perfect squares, right?
Conjugate. The whole purpose of conjugate is to get rid of that middle term. That's the whole purpose, and it's just a shortcut. You can just square root stuff. That's what we're doing.
Weren't they called perfect squares at one point?
These are perfect squares, so 9 is perfect square. Yeah. Okay. So it's the same idea here. If you, well, that's fun. Let's not do that. If you square root 36, what do you get? What's the square root of 36? So we got a 6 here, and we got a 6 here. What's the square root of z to the 4th? Z squared. Beautiful. So we got a z squared, we got a z squared. We know one has to be plus, one has to be minus. What's the square root of 121? 11. And what is the square root of w to the 4th? W squared. They love putting questions like this on college placement tests because you're not done yet for this problem. Why aren't you done yet?
Because we can still,
I thought you were just talking to me. I was like, what? You said,
You're
why
not
aren't you,
done yet,
why aren't you
David.
done yet? I was like,
Yeah, get your life together.
what
Come on,
do you do?
hunch.
Jeez.
why are we done yet?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I know why. It's because you can put it.
What about this guy? Can we factor this guy? Don't want to make sure. Can you factor this guy?
Because it's the same as the other one.
What's different about this side versus this side?
Okay, negative and positive.
You can only deal with them when they're negative, right? Because the reason for getting this is a positive times a negative. There's no way to do this. So this guy just hangs out. If it already has a positive outlook on life, then it's fine. You can leave it alone. It's already happy. Right? But this guy you can break down more. It might not be pretty because the Polly wasn't smart enough to give you actual porphyry, but we could technically put square root of 6.
Wait, do we need to do that time?
Oh, yeah, that's
Because
okay.
Girl, why can't you just leave it like that? I've never heard her say that before.
Rude. What's the square root of z squared?
Z.
And then what do I put in between these?
So normal.
And,
Positive.
and then we got whatever the heck the square root of 11 is. And the square root of w squared is? You would normally have to put square roots here. They'll do numbers like 81. Because if you did 81, and you square root it, you get 9, and then what's the square root of 9? 3, so it ends up being a nice number. I'm not fully back to myself, okay? I'm just not that good today.
No, I
Okay.
think we got a
But that is your answer. The hardest part of factoring is knowing when you're done. Honestly. Okay? Cool? Yeah? Alright. I got practice for you guys. What is really nice, and I have for you that we're going to end up doing, is I'm going to teach you 2 other ways you can deal with factoring if you just, like, highly, highly dislike it. And this might like one of those ways. Okay? If you get this stuff, it's normally faster. If you can get yourself to, like, kind of process this way, It is definitely faster for a lot of them, okay?